Zindagi Matters, special edition on mental health and human rights. Supported by Taiwan Foundation for Democracy.
Hello and welcome to Zindagi Matters with your host, Geeta Lal Sahai. And our guest today is Mr. Amrit Bakshi, a carer of his daughter living with schizophrenia since 1990. He is president of Schizophrenia Awareness Association since 2010. He is 80 plus and by profession, he is a banker and a management executive. He played an important role during crafting of the Mental Health Care Act 2017. Presently, he is the chairperson of the Ethics Committee of the ILS Law College, Pune, and is on the advisory committee constituted by Maharashtra government under the Rights of Persons with Disability Act. And now let me welcome Mr. Amrit Bakshi, whose name itself is enough in mental health fraternity. Welcome to the show, Mr. Amrit Bakshi.
Thank you, Geeta. Thank you for having me on your show.
You are involved with Ethics Committee of the Law College of Pune.
Yes.
So what kind of challenges, and you're looking after mental illness over there, right? So what kind of challenges or cases do you face?
You see, the Ethics Committee, as you know, whenever some projects are taken, then it requires ethics approval. So, as chairperson of this committee, I was conducting meetings of ethics committee and granting approvals to the various projects related to mental health. A lot of work was being done by Center for Mental Health and Policy. That was a part of Indian Law Society. So that was the work we were doing. But now I have given up almost all these activities that I was involved with because of my health and my age-related issues. So now I am the past president of Schizophrenia Awareness Association. I was the chairperson of the Hospital Management Committee of NIMHANS. So those all active roles now I have given up, and only when there is some discussions on internet, some activities which are locally in Pune, I am participating in that only.
So it has been quite long, like you began in 1990s. So
Yes.
since then, how has what are the changes that you have seen, witnessed in mental health arena?
You see now, my journey started with my daughter's illness. When her symptoms appeared, she developed schizophrenia. So that was in 1990, and that was 32 years back. And at that time, there was hardly any awareness about mental illness. Families like ours did not know anything about schizophrenia or psychiatry, and generally whenever these kind of behavioral changes were noticed, then people believed that this is some evil spirit, some black magic, and people were going to the temples or to the priests. So those kind of things were being done to ward off the evil spirits, and as a result, the treatments were delayed. Much later, when other rituals failed, people would find out that yes, it is they have to go to a psychiatrist, and psychiatrists were very few in those days.
Even now there are few compared to the population.
Now you see the number of seats have increased, more medical colleges have opened, so condition is not as bad as it was 30 years back. And now only thing is that concentration is in cities. In rural areas there is a shortage, but in large cities there is a large number of psychiatrists. The concentration is very much there. And we have now around 10,000 plus psychiatrists in our country. In those days, the number was less than 3,000. So there has been an effort to increase the number of psychiatrists, uh, and this is in the Act. Our 2017 Mental Health Care Act provides for it. It's a government's responsibility to increase the number of facilities, infrastructure, so open more psychiatry hospitals and have primary healthcare centers for mental health. Then uh, district level provide facilities, tertiary facilities. So things are happening and things are not as bad as they were there. There is much more awareness now, and I find that whenever illness symptoms are noticed, people are started going to the psychiatrist. I mean, they don't wait, and they don't wait for illness to become chronic. So things are definitely improving, and infrastructure is being developed.
Yeah, things are improving, but I think, as you mentioned, more so in metropolitan cities.
Yes, as you know that finance minister 2 years back had announced in parliament that there will be centers opened. Some, I think 43 centers have been opened, and Telemanas scheme has been introduced. People online can do the consultations. They can be prescribed treatments, and those medicines can be obtained from regional mental hospital. So things are improving. More and more facilities are making available, and these villagers can take advantage of these telemanas facilities. And of course, there are a lot many things that government is required to do for uh, these persons with mental illness. Mainly, the focus has to be on rehabilitation of persons with mental illness. Government has not done much there. You see, because those mental hospitals, regional mental hospitals, um they you see, the beds are not available. In Maharashtra, there are big mental hospitals with the 2,000 beds, 1,500 beds, and they are not being vacated because they don't know where to send the patients who have recovered. So, as per law, they have to be discharged. And many people have gone to high courts, and high courts have also passed orders that those who have recovered, they should not be kept in mental hospitals. So for them, you see, there are people uh, who do not know where to go after their recovery.
And
In
it is
some cases,
particularly for women, I think, because I did, uh, I had gone to IBHAS, and lot of people, like lot of women are there whose addresses were given wrong. And this,
yes,
so
yes,
they
you
are
are right.
still there, and they are perfectly all right now.
Yes. You see, women number is more, but
Hmm.
even men patients are
Hmm.
not welcomed by their families for various
Yes.
reasons. One thing is that other siblings, they don't want to share the properties with them. So
Hmm.
that is one reason. Secondly, because these persons have spent 10, 15, 20 years in mental hospitals, so
Hmm.
they are not used to working in the fields. And
Hmm.
in villages, farm laborers, everyone has to work and earn their living and uh, for their own maintenance. So they cannot be fed sitting at home. So therefore, if they don't work, then they have to leave the house. So these people are taken out and dropped at in cities where there are shrines. So hoping that the devotees will feed them. In Karnataka, some of these patients are given to the truck drivers. Truck drivers are paid some money and they are left in forests. So such things are also happening. Then there are some patients who say that when they were with their families, then they were very ill treated, so they will not go back to their family. And then there are some patients who have forgotten where their families are, became wanderers. So what to do about these patients? Government have to open halfway homes, sheltered accommodation, supported accommodation. All this is provided in the Act. But the government, state government, central government have not done anything in this area. And in Maharashtra, you see, they had sent these recovered patients to beggars' home, and leprosy homes, because leprosy homes are now lying vacant. So some of them who had recovered again developed symptoms living in those abandoned leprosy homes. So then High Courts again reprimanded the government and asked them to remove them from there. Then they were kept in beggars' home. So it is very important to develop facilities to keep these people in those government facilities and then rehabilitate them, give them some work. Now, Maharashtra government has found a way out. You see, they have told NGOs that you keep these uh, recovered patients with you and try to rehabilitate them. And Maharashtra government will reimburse these NGOs with 12,000 per patient per month. So hundreds of patients have been taken by these NGOs, and they are doing fairly well with those NGOs. And I think this is a good scheme which Maharashtra government has started. But ultimately, state government and central government have to provide facilities on regular basis, and then to find some rehabilitation, teach them some kind of work, carpenters, blacksmiths, or they can be provided some work in the farms. Now, we have taken some such patients in partnership with Banyan, and those people are employed by the farmhouses, and they are very happy living in the house which we have developed for them. And they say that they will never leave this place. They want to live there only, do their work in the nearby farms. So that way things are moving, happening. Of course, it is slow. It should be faster. More attention needs to be paid, which I hope will happen in course of time.
You've just quoted about Maharashtra government's example of rehabilitating people living with mental illness. Why can't we have the similar thing in other states and other cities?
Now, you see, other states also might be doing similar schemes, but I'm more familiar with Maharashtra because we are located in Maharashtra. So I am quoting what is being done in Maharashtra. If other states are not having such schemes, they should develop such schemes. So I can't really answer why those states are not doing or they are doing, and I am not aware of what they are doing. But it is a responsibility, a legal responsibility to plan their rehabilitation. It is stated in the Act, and the people are going to the courts to seek relief for such people and arrange for the facilities for them.
The other day I was talking to somebody, and his brother is living with schizophrenia, and
Yes,
he says now he is creating so much of friction at home.
yes,
So what do we do? How do we we want some place where we can take him and admit him. So in
yes.
such cases, Mr. Bakshi, what do you advise? What is your, like, what should be done?
You see, now in India or other countries of South Asia, family caregiving is a very, very big support to the governments. So the care which families can provide, professionals cannot provide, because that bonding which families have for their family member cannot be provided by a professional who is working for money. And of course, we don't have professional caregivers in our country. Now, this Rehabilitation Council of India, they have started a one-year program where they are training professional caregivers who in due course will become paid caregivers when they pass out. And if I am a caregiver to my daughter and I fall ill, and of course I can't think of going on a holiday leaving my daughter alone, but if I am hospitalized, so there is no one to look after my daughter, so then I can hire a paid caregiver. So that facility will be coming. So these cases of friction, etc., are not many. Now, if there is a friction, or if there is a sibling and sibling doesn't want to take care of brother or sister, or is married and his wife doesn't want to take this responsibility, and parents are too old to look after, then there are facilities, this residential rehab homes are very much there. Only thing is that these homes are very expensive. They are commercially run. One has to have enough money. A dormitory type of boarding and lodging costs 30,000
Hmm.
per month, and then
Hmm.
the cost of medicine, psychiatrist visit, if laundry is required, then laundry. If yoga is done as an activity, then additional cost for that. So that 30,000 becomes easily 40,000, 45,000. And if somebody wants a single room, then cost can go up to rupees 1 lakh. And if the patient is aggressive, violent, then the patient has to be kept in a single room, and with the grills and all those things. Although the law says that you cannot keep a patient in isolation, but in practice it is happening. So if the families are affluent, upper middle class, they can keep them there, but lower middle class people cannot afford uh, to keep them in these residential rehab homes. So either they have to keep them in their homes only, and live with that violence, or whatever problems are there by keeping such family members in home, or they have to keep them in uh, regional government hospitals, where the charges are very, very low, nominal charges, but the standards of hygiene, cleanliness, food are not as good as they are at other places. Of course, uh, state government, central government do provide enough money for their good food or their clothes, but there are leakages, and those money benefits do not reach fully to those patients. You know, as Rajiv Gandhi said that 1 rupee which government gives, only 30 paisa reach the beneficiary. So those kind of things also happen.
You are listening to Zindagi Matters special edition podcast on mental health and human rights, supported by Taiwan Foundation for Democracy.
I think in certain manner, the human rights or the fundamental rights of people living with mental illness, they are being challenged.
You see, these human rights are all there in the law. In the Act, all these are provided. You see, this Act, Rights of Persons with Mental Illness, Rights of Persons with Disability Act 2016 and our Mental Health Care Act 2017, they are based on UNCRPD. So now the problem is about implementation of these rights. So these rights have to be implemented, and so government has to implement. There are not many responsibilities given to the government, and the private mental health establishments, they have to follow these provisions in the law, and they have to follow them strictly, and there should not be any laxity, and that government has to ensure that how these benefits reach, and whatever the law provides is strictly observed, and somehow this corruption is not there at any stage.
So what kind of checks and balances do you recommend? Because what you are saying, according to that, there will be a lot of people in between, and the corruption will be there.
As I mentioned, that now income tax department, where there was corruption, now it is not there. It has just gone, because when income tax returns are filed, then that artificial intelligence, they scrutinize the returns, and wherever there is some problem they can see, only those are scrutinized. The rest, they clear the returns. And those returns where some inquiry is required or some more questions are to be asked, they go to somebody, some income tax commissioner or assistant commissioner, who is whose office is in some other state, and that officer does not know from where this return has come, or who was that person whose return it is. So that is now very fair, and there is no scope for corruption. So some such method can be developed in implementation of these human rights of persons with mental illness or with other disabilities. I'm sure it is not an impossible task. Once the due attention is given to this aspect, definitely some method will be found, and this will be substantially reduced, if not totally eliminated. Definitely it can be reduced. This artificial intelligence and internet and all this is a good solution to reduce these kind of undesirable things happening.
Coming to your personal life, like what are the challenges you faced as a father to a daughter living with schizophrenia, and during your time, as you mentioned earlier, in 90s, the people, society as such was not so much aware of mental health issues. So what challenges did you face?
You see, challenges means we did not know anything about schizophrenia. So there was total ignorance. We didn't know what to do. We came to know that this is a mental illness, and we have to go to a psychiatrist. Then unfortunately we did not meet the right kind of psychiatrist. So they were not helpful. They were more into money making. We did not get the right guidance or advice from them. So we made mistakes. For example, she was studying in a boarding school in Dehradun when this episode happened. So uh, we brought her back to Bombay. I was in Bombay at that time, and then for her admission, she was selected for admission in Baroda University. Now it was wrong to send her away from us. We should have kept her with us and see that she gets properly treated. She takes her medicines regularly. Nobody advised us the need for keeping her with us. So she was again in a boarding there, and she did not take her medicines regularly. I left a lot of money with a psychiatrist there and said that please, from time to time, go and see her and give her the medicines. So that did not happen. So there was aggravation in her illness, and I had to bring her back. There were some students from other countries, so she was there in the hostel with them. They were smoking, perhaps taking drugs also, and they were Gujarat. As you know, that there is a ban on alcohol, but those girls were getting liquor from some hotels, so they started sending her to get liquors for them. So all these things happened, which would not have happened had she been with us.
So how did you come to know that these things were happening? Because she was in the boarding. Did she tell you, or the college people told you?
Yes, she's a very simple girl, and she was sharing with me everything. So she shared, of course, when I brought her back from Baroda, and then she was spending too much money. Every other day there was demand for money. So I was surprised that why she is spending so much money. And then some of the students who were in the hostel, they wanted to do some big show in Bombay, and they came to know about me, and they knew that I was some influential person, and they came to me. They wanted some donations, which I arranged for them, and then I talked to them about my daughter, and they told me a few things. So I decided to withdraw her from there, and I brought her home. So then she shared with all these things with me that she was smoking Will's cigarettes, and they sent her there and to bring liquor. So she herself, see, that way she is very simple. She was sharing things with me. So that's how I came to know about it.
So that changed your perception about life and the trajectory of your life too, I think so?
Our lives were devastated, totally devastated. I mean, when we were in Bombay, then she was sent to the best school in Bombay, where there were diplomats children, film star children, industrialist children, bureaucrats children. And when my wife, she was working in a hotel chain, and then she was posted in England. And so I didn't want to keep a teenage girl in the home alone, so I put her in a boarding school in Dehradun. So that is the best school in India for girls, equivalent to Doon school. So that is what we were doing. You see, I was a middle level officer then, and my wife was in a hotel. So my wife's entire salary we were using for her studies, and my salary was used to run the house. So all those ambitions which parents have for their children were totally shattered, and it was a big setback to us. when she was in Bombay with us, I tried horse riding for her. I put her in a coaching for tennis, this Kathak dance and all, whatever she wanted. Never force it on her, but encourage her to learn these things. So it was a huge setback, and then my wife had to leave her job because somebody has to be with my daughter, and I kept on my job because somebody has to earn to run the establishment. So income came down and costs, expenditure went up because her treatment was costing us additional expenditure was there. Uh, so it was a huge problem. Then problem with neighbors because she would shout, she would scream when she would hear those voices which were harassing her. So neighbors would complain. Relatives stopped visiting us. Friends stopped visiting us. And if there was an invitation for some social gathering, then it was only Mr. and Mrs. Normally it is Mr., Mrs. and family. So they would not include family. So we would not go only. So it was a very bad period for us.
So did
And
you
then,
go like when they were not writing and family? So
yes.
did you go?
No. Question does not arise. Never. We never went to those places. And so that is how things were. And then when she would hear voices, or if she thought that we were harassing her, then she would become aggressive towards us. So sometimes she would bring a knife from the kitchen and try to attack me. So I was keeping those cushions to protect myself. And my wife got beatings from her several times because my wife would check her. I would tell her not to check her, but she would. So she got more of beating than what I got. So that was another part of it. So I was hiding all those sharp instruments from the kitchen, and we were I got the grills fixed on our windows so that does not attempt suicide or self-harm. We would lock the doors from inside in the night when we would go to sleep, because many times she would not sleep. She would walk inside the house. She would not eat. She would not take the medicines. So we would mix medicines in her food. And in the night she would attack the fridge and eat the food which was mixed with medicines. So very bad time we had, but that was the destiny. We believe in destiny. So what cannot be cured must be endured. So we faced all those things and tried to give her best treatment. You see, in early 90s, that clozapine was introduced, that FDA had approved that, and that was called a wonder drug with the 96% success rate. So I wanted that medicine for her, and that time it was not available in India. So our psychiatrist said it has not come to India because it takes 3-4 years for new FDA approved drugs to come to India. So I found a source in Switzerland. So we were importing from there. It was very lengthy procedures. We were following that procedure, and then there was a custom duty on that. Then a Director General of Health from there got a certificate that it's a life-saving drug. So all those things we did. And then you see that these drugs, antipsychotic drugs, have their side effects. So she would sleep for long hours, and there was saliva in the night. She was having the saliva. So these were the side effects, and it was difficult to wake her up and send her to the college. She was in JJ School of Arts at that time. So for holidays they went to Dehradun, and there they stopped her clozapine and put her in a homeopathy with a homeopathy doctor who was president of India's homeopath doctor. And when I came to know, I asked them, don't do this, start allopathic medicine. These are homeopathic drugs or this Ayurvedic drugs, etc. They are not certified drugs, so don't do that. And but they did not listen to me. Our psychiatrist also said, don't do that, it will be very harmful. And once these drugs are stopped, then you have to give a double, triple quantity, and still you don't receive those drugs. You don't get the same effect. So when they came, and then side effects were not there, so they felt very happy. But soon the symptoms reappeared, and they reappeared with a lot more intensity. And then we had to again go to the psychiatrist. So what we achieved with the 100 mg, we had to go up to 200 mg, 250 mg. Then I learned about Nimhans. I didn't know about Nimhans till then. So I went to Bangalore and found some source and met the one additional professor there. And he said, we have not tried clozapine enough. It can be given up to 800 mg. So Bombay psychiatrist was not willing to give it in that large quantity. He had never gone beyond 200 or 250. That was the limit. Then this Nimhan's professor, he came to Bombay once. He was going abroad, so he came to our house. So I made him talk to our psychiatrist. So he persuaded him to increase it. So it was gradually increased, and it went up to 700 mg. So 700 mg, she got seizures. So I talked to Nimhans, and we reduced to 500 mg. So 500 mg became her threshold. For so many years, she was taking 500 mg, and then it was reduced to 400, and still she got seizures, 5 seizures one after another. So in consultation with psychiatrist, it was stopped, which again was a mistake. I mean, I did the precaution of talking to the psychiatrist. Perhaps psychiatrist should have advised, okay, don't stop it altogether, reduce it to 300 or 250. But I was so much worried. I was told that there is a risk to her life because 5 strokes one after another was too much. So again, symptoms developed very, very high. So these are some of the mistakes which we made. Now, when we stopped her clozapine this time, then I was, of course, very knowledgeable. I knew everything. I had written books on caregiving and mental illness. So this
Yeah, I read that book, Mental Illness and Caregiving.
You have seen that book?
Yes,
Achha,
I have it.
So I shouldn't have made this mistake, but that father or parental attachment, you see, made me do this mistake, which we advise others not to do. So again, her symptoms appeared very high, and other medicines did not help. So again, we reintroduced, but I didn't allow them to go beyond 350. And now that she is in remission, so we have increased it to 375, along with the anti-seizure medicines. So I hope now the seizures will not happen. So that has been the journey, 3 decades or so. And now worry is...
Where is your wife? Like, where's her mother now?
Sorry, my wife?
Yeah.
What is your question?
No, I asked, like, who is, like, you are looking after her, and what about her mother, like your wife?
Yes, my wife unfortunately passed away 4 years back.
Oh,
She developed cancer. So we were living in the suburb of Pune in Bavdan. very good house we had, beautiful scenic view, lake, hills. But when her cancer developed, then I got worried that how will we manage, because chances are that she may not survive. So this NGO where I was the president, they had some FSI available, some vacant land was there. So I built a small house there and had an agreement with the NGO that as long as three of us are alive, we will live in that house. And after we are not there, then this will go back to the NGO. So we shifted to this place. So we fought my wife's cancer for 4 years. In 2020, she passed away. And
So sorry
now
to hear
myself
that.
and my daughter, we are there. Fortunately, she is in remission, although she is not fully functional. But she is a great physical support to me, and I support her as far as her treatment is concerned. So I take care of her medicines, antipsychotic drugs, take her to the psychiatrist. I have arranged for her counseling sessions, weekly sessions, and she attends our residential rehab center so that some socialization and some therapeutic activities she takes part. This yoga, animal therapy, dance therapy, and theater of the oppressed, these activities which I have introduced for our patients. So she takes part in that. And then she should have some spiritual part also. So I take her on Sundays for satsang. So 2 hours satsang she attends. So it gives her some peace, and so everything that is possible is being done. And I have ensured that after me, there is no financial constraint for her, and even the inflation will be taken care of. That I have tried to do. And then there are some friends and some my office colleagues and my one nephews here. They have assured that they will look after her. I don't know what will happen, so I can take care of her or help her as long as I am alive. Beyond that, what can I do? It is her fate. I feel bad that her life is all destroyed. I mean, she has not been able to live a normal life. I try to give her small happiness, whatever she wants to eat, whatever she wants to wear. All small wishes I fulfill. Big wishes like her getting married or having her own family, I can't fulfill. That is the wise thing I did. I never thought of hiding her illness and getting her married. Normally, if she didn't have this illness, sometime I think there would have been a queue of prospective grooms. But because of her illness, never a proposal came, and I never hid her illness. Also, that is the stigma attached to mental illness. We can't do anything about that. So her life is ruined. But if she can live close to normal life, and if she gets some support, because support she will need, even if she is financially okay, and I have arranged in such a way that she cannot be cheated. So she will get money every month, and some investments will remain, which in case of need she can be her medical treatment or other needs if they are there. She will have funds for that, and every month also she will get enough money, the interest income. So the rest is her fate.
Very heartbreaking and touching life. One last question which I want to ask
Yes.
Mr. Amrit Bakshi, that is, why do you think, like often it is said, something triggers So
Yes.
what could have been the triggering point in her life which made her like this?
You see, there is no answer, in fact, like what causes the trigger and how these symptoms appear. All that we know that these symptoms appear in the case of girls in late 20s and for boys early 20s. But then there is early onset also, and there is a late onset also. Some develop it in when they are in their 40s, 50s also. And my daughter, she developed when she was 18. So there, generally it is this in 20s
But there
where
was no history of anybody in your family.
now that is what we believed. But now I realize that her mother also lived with mental illness, schizophrenia, because we didn't realize and she was never treated and she did not
Her mother,
accept.
you mean?
Yes, yes, yes. She never accepted that she has mental illness, but she had delusions, which I now can see. She would tell me that these neighborhood servants, they come to our terrace every night, and they have their parties there, and they make noise. So I would ask her, how can they go to our terrace? Our house is locked from inside in the night. Then she would say they climb up on pipes, now which is, I mean, not possible, just imaginary. So that was the delusions she was getting. Or when we shifted to our house in Pune, then she would ask me, did you ensure that all these interiors were done in your presence? Are you sure that there are no cameras fixed and nobody is watching us? Or when she would change her clothes, she would do it at a place where there are no windows, uh, and she can't see. I used to joke with her that you think that people have got their binoculars fixed to see us what we are doing. So, but later on I realized that this is her, but she was functional. She would do the cooking part. She had lot many friends. So, but
And she was working also, you said, right?
yes, yes, she was working also. So later on, her symptoms increased, but this servants having parties on our terrace, this was there at that time also. Uh, so she remained functional, but these symptoms remained, and she was having perhaps OCD also, because she was very fond of keeping plants. You know, she would keep the plants inside the house. Our terrace, she had 200 or so potted plants. So all these mango trees, fruit trees, lemon trees, all these fruit trees, she would keep them in pots. So, which was normally, which would not be done. So, these kind of obsessions she had. So, you see, this schizophrenia or other mental illnesses, they are mostly hereditary, and the second factor is environment. If there are fights in the family or violence, you know, the father and beating the mother and such kind of incidents, if they are there, then also this can happen, this can be triggered. Or if there is a child molestation, then also this can happen. So these are the two main factors. But it can happen to anyone. 1% chances are there that it can happen to anyone without any history of this illness in the family. I mean, there is a rough formula that if it is illness is with both the parents, then 50% chances are that children will get. Or if it is identical twins, then also 50% chances are there. If one twin, then 17%, one parent, then also 17%, then uncles, aunts, then 4%. Like that, some rough estimates are there. So, but hereditary factor is mainly there if somebody has this illness, and if we try to find out some uncles, grandfathers, etc., then we can find some connection.
Thanks a lot, Mr. Amrit Bakshi, for sharing your story and giving us such insightful views about mental health and rights and everything. So thanks a lot, Mr. Bakshi.
I hope those who listen to this podcast will benefit and they will avoid the mistakes that we made, and it will create some more awareness. Thank you and bye-bye.
Thank you.
You were listening to Zindagi Matters, special edition on mental health and human rights, supported by Taiwan Foundation for Democracy.